Hello and welcome back to this channel. I'm your host Idika Nobut, and this is Isaac News. As you know already on Isaac News, our job is to bring you up to speed with the latest positive developments in the country. And today we'll be continuing our series on the fifth alteration of the Nigerian Constitution. The fifth alteration to the Nigerian Constitution is a pivotal moment in our country's history that has the capacity to shape our history forever. This alteration or amendment, like I said in my last video, in Nigeria, we use alteration in place of amendment. So this particular amendment will bring about significant changes to the political, economical, and social landscape of Nigeria. It has the capacity to affect everything from the balance of power between the federal and state government to the rights and freedom of our citizens. If this alteration is properly implemented, it has the potential to usher in a new era of prosperity. It has the potential to birth the new Nigeria we are desiring, and it's going to lead to progress for this nation. However, if mishandled or mismanaged, this alteration could equally have disastrous consequences. It could plunge Nigeria into chaos and instability. Honestly speaking, the stakes truly are high, and the outcome of this amendment will reverberate through Nigeria's history for generations to come. So we're going to be looking majorly at the fifth alteration as regards the way it affects the state government. Like I said in the last video, you can check it out. I talked about how that this fifth alteration, part of its major aim is to establish true federalism, proper separation of powers. There's a whole lot that the state government in Nigeria can stand to benefit from this fifth alteration. What it can benefit from power, what it can benefit from railway services, and other benefits are the things we are going to be looking at in today's video. So the restructuring we are seeking is actually ongoing, but those who have eyes are the ones seeing it. All right, moving on. The fifth alteration creates an opportunity for the DISCOs. Okay, DISCOs is a short term for the distributing arm of the electricity in Nigeria. So we have the GENCOs. Those are the guys who generate electricity. We have the DISCOs. Those are the guys who distribute electricity. So this alteration is creating opportunity for the DISCOs to improve capacity and increase revenue flow. So we have over 7,000 megawatts of electricity generation in Nigeria as we speak. But we are still struggling to transmit that 7,000 naira to the final consumer. For the longest time, we've been transmitting about 5,000 megawatts of electricity. We've tried to see how to upscale this distribution to try to distribute all the power that we generate. And we have done that a few times, but we are trying to attain consistency so that if we generate 8,000 megawatts of electricity, we are going to distribute that same 8,000. And this will only happen when we have mega transformers put in our substations. And sometimes we even have to change the power lines we have been using decades ago because they can no longer handle the power that these new transformers can supply to the transmission lines. So our DISCOs have a lot of work to do. If they increase their capacity, it means that they can reach a lot more areas, and that will be more money coming to their purses. This also means that the regional monopoly of DISCOs will end. How? Because more and more state players will come into the sector. And we understand that competition will ultimately provide customers with options, which will be a panacea for improved service delivery. As long as the sector is being monopolized and no party is threatened to lose business to the other party, it would allow a high level of laxity and complacency. But by the time states begin to generate and distribute electricity in the areas covered by the national grid, the national PHCN and the Nigerian Electricity Commission will have to step up to ensure that it sustains its customers and does not lose them to the state's power companies. Now, this is a revolutionary move that will certainly increase the revenue gotten by states and ultimately improve electricity generation in Nigeria. So this is a big one by the president, trying his possible best to, leave long-lasting solutions to the problem that have bedeviled us for decades now. All right, we're going to move on from power and we're going to go to rail. The fifth alteration, number 16. This bill seeks to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to move the item, in quote, railways, from the executive legislative list to the concurrent legislative list. So in Nigeria, legislative list provides for the division of powers. So we have the executive legislative list, we have the concurrent legislative list, we have the residual legislative list. So this list provides for division of powers and division of, job mandates. So we know that in Nigeria, we are actually practicing democracy. So we have the executive arm of government, we have the legislative arm of government, we have the judicial arm of government. So there are certain responsibilities that are solely, conferred on the executive. One of which was railway development. What that means is that items on the executive legislative list, that is jobs that can only be done by the executive, no other party can be involved in it. So state governments cannot do that. Private institutions cannot be involved in those things. And one of such was railway. But because of this fifth alteration, state government and even private bodies can begin to build railway companies and run rail in their own name and generate money from the railway business. So we have seen that Lagos State had even gone ahead to build its own metro rail system. In fact, very amazingly, it is the first electric rail, electric train in Africa. The first, beautiful, the first electric rail in Africa. So please don't cross the rail lines anyhow. The Lagos rail line, the blue line, okay? Don't tamper with, with the rail lines. It's the major reason why we have them elevated, from, ground level, because, it is electrified and it could kill you, it could electrocute you to death. So you may ask, what is the executive legislative list and what's the concurrent legislative list? The executive legislative list gives the federal government exclusive legislative powers over items in the executive legislative list, while the concurrent legislative list provides for items in which both the federal and state government can legislate on. In simple English, the executive list, items on that list can only be done by the federal government. Concurrent legislative list, items on that list can be done by both state and federal government. So this is amazing because now we have state governments producing power or having the ability by law to produce, generate, distribute, and transmit electricity. We see our state government being backed up by a law to build, manage, run, and generate revenue from railways. So Nigeria is a very large country, and the more we actually decentralize power and decentralize some items on the executive list, it would allow for more players to come into the sector and see how to boost infrastructural development. This is exactly what happened when the president gave consent to Aliko Dangote to build, the third largest refinery in the world. Before now, the private sector were not even allowed to go into the oil and gas industry. But opening that industry up to other players, is even giving us hope that by this year and hopefully in the next 2 years, we will stop importing refined petroleum products in Nigeria forever. So this is restructuring going on, right before our own eyes, and we have to, appreciate what the president has done just before leaving office. He's trying to put things in place to ensure that development continues in this country even after he leaves office. So this is where we're going to round off for today's episode of the video. I'm sure you learned one or two things, concerning the country. I've been saying on this channel, please fact check the news you read, the news you hear. Fact check me. Follow other channels that push out good news and positive things. Follow other social media handles that also put out good news. Follow our own Telegram channel. I'm going to put in the links of all my videos, and go and go back to the beginning and read as much as you can read, just to keep yourself updated as to the things that have been happening in the last in this last administration. So this we're going to call it a day. Thank you very much for being with us. Until we see again, Godspeed.